So hi there, we are here. I wanted to introduce Karen Kessler, or KK as we affectionately know her, as one of the managing partners of TRIAD Group of Companies. And so tell us, KK, what is your main role and what's your piece of cake? We talk about the piece of cake policy a lot here. What is your piece of cake here at TRIAD?
Oh, I am the universal translator. that's my job. um, One of the things that I love to do is to reach in to the complexity or reach into the coolness and then figure out the how. I can turn anything into step by step and then figure out how to translate that in a way that other people can learn and grow and pick that up. So my role is as director of the Next Level Leaders Center for Excellence, which is where we do all of the skill development training for entrepreneurs and leaders. And there's just a fraction of the programs on there now, as there will be. But I've sort of been the brainchild behind that. How do we really figure out what people need most right now, and how do we build actual skills? So that's always my passion, is to figure out how do we get it in a way that it shows up as wisdom in someone so that they can use it again and again and again, that they don't have to depend on us, that when they come in under the umbrella and they want to work with us, they keep themselves and they build trust in themselves along the way. Did I answer your question?
Yes, yes. So along the same line of questioning, what has been your biggest growth, personal growth or business growth, and your biggest revelation since the three of us coming together and working?
Oh, that it's a concept that I have labeled percolate. So the awareness that sometimes things need to sit in contemplation, like that if I ask or want to do something, it's not always ready to just grab it out of the air and do it. So I was, certified project management professional, and I've worked in a lot of projects, and it was always just set the deadlines and get it done. And the brilliance doesn't come out of that when it's that forced. Like I can make it happen, but it's going to be right? But if I'm willing to let things percolate, and that often means I can't do anything else. So I would sit and do a puzzle, and for a while I'm thinking, like, I feel like I'm making puppies, right? Like I'm just, if anybody finds out that I'm doing nothing, so I was labeling myself, I was feeling lazy, I was feeling like I wasn't paying attention, I was feeling like I wasn't contributing. And then suddenly one day, after about 3 days, an entire program spilled out of my head in 20 minutes onto a big sheet of paper. And I'm like, oh, so I was working over the last 3 days, right? But it needed, it was, yeah, like the stuff that I know and other things that I was doing. And so it felt like I was, like I said, making puppies. It felt like I wasn't doing anything. So my idea of what work has changed. Like that, in order for me to be in my piece of cake, there has to be this space, which means that sometimes I'm working at 8 o'clock at night, but sometimes it also means that my lunch is 2 or 3 hours because I went to have a nap. Right? So the spacing and learning what I need to be in my brilliance has been the discovery. And if you guys hadn't created the space for that and the encouragement of it, and not that, what are you working on now, Karen? What's happening over there? I'm doing a puzzle. Right? If there hadn't been space for that and acknowledgement for it, and Casey's really good at, like, what are you doing? Just go away. If it hadn't been for that encouragement, we wouldn't have discovered the things we've discovered. We wouldn't be as far ahead in the programs as we are right now without that. So that's probably been my biggest learning, or reframing around what it means for me to be working.
Awesome. Along that lines, of course, we started before we started this company, you and I had started doing some work together, getting together on Zoom and doing some work together. And that since the quarantine, we basically are on most of the day together. Can you talk to me a little bit about what that means for you and how that's changed things for us as a company?
That's a great question. Alone doesn't exist anymore. That isolation, that loneliness, right? Like I'm still independent in what I'm working on, but there's like people talk about getting Zoom fatigue. It's harder for me to work when we're not connected on Zoom. Like it's hard for me to relate to what people are talking about. And I think it's because they're on meetings and they're looking at themselves and interacting with people. But because it's on, it almost feels more like a cubicle environment. You're working on what you're working on. I'm working on what I'm working on. But if I have a question or want you to look at something, I'm like, do you have a second? And I can bring it up. It's no different than me walking down the hall and going to your cubicle or into your office, knocking on the door and say, hey, do you have 5 minutes for me? So it's very collegial and we're there to support each other. And you can also tell if I'm getting up in my head. You can like you catch me before I've spiraled too far. Whereas if I was just expected to show up at a meeting with you once a day for a check-in, if we were doing like we were like pacing partners, then I could just make shit up and tell you whatever. Right? But you're completely in the tent. So you're getting like the play-by-play. So there's nothing to hide. There's no hiding, right? There's no time making stuff up. Like it's just, this is the way it is. And so we celebrate in real time. We commiserate in real time. And it keeps things moving. Absolutely.
We make each other go and have lunch.
We do. We're like, we're taking lunch today. It's like, shit, it's 1:30. Okay, I'm going now.
So KK, as the universal translator, because this is your brilliance piece, and having all of us being entrepreneurs and solopreneurs for so many years, how is working as Triad and what we've developed here different from what you've been taught or what you've experienced or what you know in your entrepreneurial world?
Well, I think, so I grew up in a fairly entrepreneurial household. And so those businesses were very hierarchical, right? They were either manufacturing or it was a franchise, restaurants, you know, that type of thing. So everyone had their role and you were walking into something that kind of already existed. And then myself as an entrepreneur, even when Jeff and I were in business together, or at least, you know, I had someone handling the tech and the back end and I was doing that. It was still very goal oriented. It was still very, we need to get this done. This is what's happening. And I was also implementing someone else's system, someone else's framework. So for the first time, we are sitting in the middle of something that's revealing itself. And we're responding to the business instead of forcing the business to take shape. And that's something I've never experienced before. And it really needs to be in that place. It's like we've been learning about the difference between power and force, right? And so when we're in the power of that, in that place, there's this huge allowing. And every time I get up in my head and I feel like I'm forcing, Jake, I can go to you and I can say, okay, I'm forcing him in my head. I can't actually tell. I can't get myself centered again. Is it this or it's this? And you're like that. And you just know. And there's so much confidence in it. It wouldn't matter if you were making it up. It's all I need to get out of my head and back into the flow again. Right. And it's so important to have that. And I have no expectations. Like, I know that things are going well if I'm having a really good time and I'm just excited, right? And oh, and this happened, and you know, when did that happen? And oh, I was thinking about this, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and I just feel like I'm playing all the time, right? And it's like I've never had that kind of space, just play and create. And so I didn't even realize this, the beautiful aftermath of all of that is the opportunity after opportunity to learn how to trust myself. Yeah, it's because everything, it just, when I trust myself, the more that the cool stuff comes out, right? And so just having the space to do that is huge. And then I take an idea out to the people and they get so much out of it. I'm like, wow, like I haven't even finished building it yet. So yeah, there's just space to play in sort of what's best for me. Like it's so healthy for me.
That's amazing.
And you cry.
And we found something out that none of us knew because you didn't even know it.
No, I didn't even know that. That was really cool. Like I knew it was a thing I've been teaching other people, but I don't think I realized the mechanism of how I was building more trust in myself. I know I was feeling more confident. I knew all of that was happening. The second guessing had gone away. I didn't realize the mechanism of what was creating that. So that was fun.
So cool.
Amazing. That's all I have, I think. So thank you. Thank you so much, KK, for revealing a little bit more of yourself to us and to everyone else. And we so appreciate you here in this company and your amazing role. So thank you.
Thank you. Mwah. I love you.
Love you too.